the all these kidnappings and the likes that have been going on ground zero. This is an exclusive story, ladies and gentlemen. We have never want to be in the habit of calling out names of some of our fighters on ground zero whom we know have put their lives on the line to fight, to defend our country, to defend our territory. We all know that this war is not against Ambazonians versus Ambazonians. This war is not against our people versus our people. It's not against Ambazonian forces against other Ambazonian forces. Neither is it against Ambazonian forces versus or against the local population in our country. But in the course of this war, we have seen a phenomenon that increasingly emanates a big menace on our people. We have heard of kidnappings. We have heard of ransom takings. We have heard of generals and commanders buying houses buying homes or building homes, buying lands with ransoms they collect from innocent people who do not even have the money. The unfortunate thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are some in the diaspora. There are many in the diaspora here who have been party to these ransoms taking. And it is very, very important that we bring this out. If it will stop, if it will end, if it can end, ladies and gentlemen, if this can end, these random stealing, robbery, killings that we have encountered, that we have seen, witnessed on ground zero with some of the forces. I will not say with some of our forces, because I can assure you not all these forces, they belong to the interim government.
This kidnapping, harassment, and all this extortion is something that is really affecting the people of Ambazonia, especially those on ground zero, and even family members overseas. And these acts are being perpetrated mostly by militias or thieves, people who are trying to use this revolution for their personal gain. Some of these people, when they started, they didn't start like this, because I even have some audios where some commanders confessed how they were being urged or coached into taking ransom or into trying to get money from people. You know, and some of these people, when they start testing this money and they see that the money is good, they abandon their local government or the leadership of the people that have been taking care of them, because they look as if the money we are giving them is nothing, and they feel like their allegiance to us is that money. And this is a very serious problem in this revolution right now. And so far as this Department of Self-Defense and Security is concerned, it is our a very high priority for us to stem out all types of kidnappers, ransom taking, terrorizing of our civilian on ground zero. We will not stop at anything but to make sure Ambazonia is clean from these rogues and thieves, these recalcitrant people that are trying to disturb or destabilize our revolution, be it agents from La Republique du Cameroon or be it agents of business people in the diaspora who are trying to use this as an opportunity to make money or settle scores. We will stem this out.
Last evening, I received a phone call from Bambili of a rogue group calling themselves Restoration Forces, going into the university in Bambili and abducting, I think, 12 university students from their hostels. One was killed, and I don't know what happened to another one, but 9 or 10 are still in their custody. Now, these boys want the public to believe that they are fighting for Ambazonia. I called them this morning. I got their contact and I called them this morning. And I said, hey, this is Secretary Chris calling. And they were like, did you say you are Chris or Secretary? That was what they asked me. I said, this is Secretary Chris. And they said, okay, so what do you want? Now, I thought if these were indeed Amber boys, they will recognize me and said, okay, this is what is going on. The people we picked up were either traitors or this or that. No, none of that. But they have 9 or 10 university students in their custody as I speak. And I asked them, so what do you need? What do you want to release these 9 university students? They said they need 7 million CFA francs. And I asked them, what do you want to do with the money? And they dropped the phone. They dropped the phone. Now, I am sure you must have learned of this particular group in Bambili, because this is not the first time they linger between Bambili and Bambui. And often when they go out and kidnap people and take ransoms, they refer to themselves. They want people to believe that these are the 7 Katas from Bafut who are doing this. These boys are not affiliated with the 7 Katas. They are not members of the 7 Katas. So these are some of the people, the things we are talking about. And the bad thing about this is that everybody on ground zero who comes across these people think, oh, these are Amba restoration forces, whereas these people have nothing to do with our restoration forces. What prescription would you give for this kind of people to be handled?
Say the Chris, there are about 2 or 3 kind of, I can tell maybe 3 kind of kidnappers or bad boys or fake Amber boys in Mezam in particular. There's a famous thief that we are almost narrowing down on him right now, who comes, he lives in Bafut area and comes to Mezam and carry out some operation and goes back to Bafut. And then we have this group, this gang that is in Tuba area carrying out the operation in Bambui and Bambili. What I want to say that there is a similar situation that happened in Fako, in one village there, where the people came out and they said enough is enough for a rogue commander that was terrorizing the people and extorting money. They said enough is enough. And they all came out and arrested that commander, and they wanted to just lynch him. But there was an intervention. Unfortunately, when he was released, it entered the hands of other disobedient commander who released him, and is now terrorizing the village of Mamu, and that is going to be taken care of very soon. So the population of that area should know that these people are evil and they are not working with the interim government, and they have to arise, unite, give us any kind of intelligence, and they themselves have to prepare themselves and come in their numbers to make sure these people are getting rid of, either by exposing them or together they can capture these people. These people are not more than the population that they are working in. They are not more than them, even though they are carrying guns. But the population, if they unite together, these people they can do the same thing that was done in Fako.
Now, talking about people uniting to get rid of this rogue so-called restoration group or Amber group, whatever they call them, what do you say? What do you say about those in the diaspora who are behind these groups? I give you one good example. Marcelos Atanga, who used to be, I don't know whether he is still a member of the ASC, of the Kondenge government. Marcellus Atanga, ladies and gentlemen, look at me, eyeball to eyeball. Marcellus Atanga lives here in the USA. We have credible evidence that Marcellus Atanga is behind most of the kidnappers and the ransom takers in Mancon, in Maifo, in Queen, and part of Bamenda as a whole. So, Mr. Secretary, what do you do? What do you have to do? It falls under your department. What do you have to do with people like Marcellus Atanga, the insult Foncha of the world? The other guy in Europe is called, is it Songong or what's the name? Is this Sufo Songong or something like that? These are the guys, ladies and gentlemen, who are behind some of these kidnappings on Ground Zero. The name Marcellus Atanga rings a big bell. He is responsible for some of the most or majority of the kidnappings and ransom takings in Queen, in Mancon, my 90, my 4, my 6, my 5 in Queen. So, Mr. Secretary, what do you do with these perpetrators in the diaspora?
Secretary Chris, the issue about Marcellus or any other person that is operating like Marcellus is a very serious one. I would like to see the evidences that you have against Marcellus, but this is something that we have been investigating, but we haven't really had credible information that is linking him, or is mostly hearsay. But if you have such evidence, anyone who is in the diaspora who is carrying such act, I think we have to work with the Department of Foreign Affairs to know exactly how they can hold those people responsible. You know, our jurisdiction is only on Ground Zero. The only thing that we can do so far,
Mr. Secretary, there is a letter which I have a copy with me. I don't know whether you have seen it or not. A letter that was written by the Bafut LGA's, I think, Security Council to the IG, complaining to the IG that Marcellus Atanga was even behind his team on Ground Zero, planning for them to go and rob a bank, and the Bafut LGA Security Council wrote to the IG, put an official complaint to the IG, accusing Atanga of being behind some of these things. I don't know. I'm aware you were just appointed Defense Secretary recently, but this is part of the evidence. What would the diaspora do in this situation?
That's a very serious crime or allegation. Let me say, call it now allegation. But should something like that happen, I think these individuals should be taken very seriously, and the diaspora can come together so far as the interim government is concerned and see what appropriate we can do to make sure those people suffer the consequences even in the diaspora. We can report them as terrorists, and we can report them as criminals to their various countries where they are. I would really like to go deeper and to get into that evidence, and we'll talk with the different actors, the judiciary and the legal department, and then the Department of Foreign Affairs, so that we can take the appropriate action to hold people who are involved in sponsoring or encouraging a criminal act like that in Ambazonia. We can hold them responsible no matter which country they are.
To make this levy. I mean, I come from a community too, with people who are supporting the restoration forces in our community, and nobody is being forced to pay a dime. If they can, they do. But in this particular case of the SDF, it is, I'm sorry, of the ADF, it is happening everywhere they set their foot. It is also being alleged, that the ADF went into schools in the northern zone, and they are telling the principals, your schools can go on as much as you add an additional 25,000 francs to every student's school fee, and then sum that up and pay to us. Again, this is an allegation. I have no means of confirming this, but we have heard this. This should not be happening.
Yes, Secretary Chris, you are very correct. And there are some other fighters on Ground Zero who not only do they do that to schools, There are people that we have registered as enemies and frogs, people of La Republique, and some of these people on ground zero, they will make arrangement with them to take money from these people and allow them against the revolution. There are people that are doing that. Most of these hirelings, these fighters who are fighting for their stomach or fighting for warlords in the diaspora, that's what they do. So they catch and they make a deal and they release. So they don't really deal with the enemy the proper way they are supposed to deal with the enemy. But because they are benefiting from the enemy, they allow the enemy to stay in our land. So these people are worse than the enemy also. So they are there, and these are the challenges that we are facing in the Department of Self-Defense.
Act of kidnapping and ransom takings, we are also very much aware that some leaders, I don't know what I should even describe them as leaders or describe them as thugs in this revolution have also been involved. Cho Ayaba, AGC, their team in Mancon has also been involved in this in this kidnapping, ransom taking and stealing. I'll give you one good example. It was Cho Ayaba's boys who kidnapped John Frundi, chairman John Frundi, demanded money. Cho Ayaba's boys are also the ones that killed the warden, returning, I think, from Akum or Penin or Santa. We all saw the gory images. Then they pretended, went ahead, arrested some 3 people and said, these are the guys who killed Florence Ayafo. This is what they are doing on the ground. Cho Ayaba's AGC ADF, they are going into the villages, into the towns, and even learn allegedly into some schools. And they are saying to the villagers, tasking the villagers, some have to pay, women have to pay 2,000, some men have to pay 3,000 in some places. Some women have to pay 5,000, men have to pay 10,000. They are collecting this money from indigents, from people who, because of this same war, have lost jobs, have lost their businesses, and they are taking this money from them. They have, they are all over the place, in Batipol, in Wabane local government, taking, putting pain, abducting people, taking ransom from our people. What is it going to take until something is done to these ADF thieves?
Secretary Chris, I want to just let you understand that so far as ADF is concerned, we have already written them off because like in those places you just listed, the ADF fighters who are involved in making money, they have an agenda, and their agenda is to portray themselves as the superior force on the ground. This is no secret. They were trying to protect themselves as a dominant force, but they don't fight. They allow our fighters to fight, and then they take the glory. So they go they live right in the interiors, and they brandish all these weapons as if they have weapons, but you don't see any fighting that they are doing. But so far as what makes them worse is the atrocities that they are committing, the killing of other restoration fighters, and the terrorizing of the civilian population wherever they are. This we cannot tolerate, and so far as I'm concerned in this department, any one of those terrorists, no matter whether, I usually say that there are enemies. Enemy is an enemy. It doesn't matter if the enemy is inside the house. It doesn't matter if the enemy bear my same last name. If that person is an enemy, if my brother is an enemy, he's an enemy. So an enemy is an enemy, and we will deal with all the enemies of Ambazonia, foreign or domestic. So I want to assure you that these people, when they are arrested, it is my order and my responsibility that they will be dealt with accordingly. They will be dealt with accordingly, and we are developing and devising strategies to make sure we get rid of all these people in the field. But Chris, I want to correct you about
where. I don't care if it is Seven Kata. I don't care if it is Red Dragons. I don't care if it is the Vipers or whatever tigers they call them. Anybody who intimidates, who abducts and demand for ransoms and go about passing levies, compulsory levies for you to pay. Count them out of the restoration forces, even if they carry our legitimate names. We do no longer consider them as fighting for this revolution. This is very, very important for Ground Zero to take note. And I think I have said before that it is high time everyone, every household on Ground Zero begin to take measures to protect themselves against these rooks. They come to you, they call your number, you don't know them. The moment they start calling your number, do everything you can to protect yourself, to defend yourself. Because when they call your number and you don't show up and you don't come, they will show up. What do you do when they show up? That is a choice, a decision you all have to make. This interim government doesn't have any police force on the ground, even though we are trying to do everything possible to set up one. But in the meantime, I think Ground Zero, every household, begin to think about this. What do you do when they show up? You go to defend yourself. Now, Mr. Secretary, this thing is in the diaspora. I was in California. I think that was last weekend, where we had a fundraiser. And a lady came up. Took the microphone. We thought she wanted to make a generous donation. But she was almost protesting that the interim government is allowing these boys on Ground Zero to go about kidnapping people and collecting ransoms. She said that week, her family was picked up and they had to cough out $4.5 million. That is close to $10,000, 4.5 million francs CFA, before their family could be released. These stories are many, very many, and it's happening on a daily basis. Isn't it time that Amber should begin to police Amber on Ground Zero?
Yes, Secretary Chris, I think we have plans on that. Very soon, not long from now, we'll be seeing a very powerful force on Ground Zero that will be there to police our people. But like I said, we need...
Thank you. You also have the case in Meme, I think Kumba, precisely, of a guy called so-called General Divine, who is also another big troublemaker in that area. You also have another one called Ayeke, who has burnt down homes in Wabane, burnt down a market in is it Bifang or Befang, in the Wabane area, a local government. In fact, I understand that right now he is demanding 2 million CFA francs each from the people in that community. He has gone into the bushes and confiscated. These people live on oil, palm oil production and palm wine. He has gone into the bushes and destroyed, confiscated, in some cases, all their produce. Again, these are some of the cases we are talking about here. What do you have to say?
I want to say specifically about Anyike. I'm saying this on national television. If any of these people that are being listed, if they are arrested and released, we are going to hold whoever arrested them, like General Anyike. If he is arrested, he should be penalized and dealt with in prison and take information from the leadership of that local government or whatever, so they can pay for their crimes. If such a person is arrested and released, we are going to hold the local government or any authority that is responsible for them or for their release as taking part in the criminal act that they have been doing in Ambazonia. So any criminal who is arrested, please, they should go through the proper channel through their local government, their counties, and eventually the interim government, so that these people will be treated accordingly and will be held accordingly and not released. If you release them with that proper order from the interim government, we are going to hold you as accessory, as partaker of the criminal act that they are doing. And should they leave and go and commit any other crime, that crime will be held on your head, or on your local government, or on your people, or whoever is responsible for releasing people like that. I just want to point that out, Mr. Secretary.
It's not only happening in the northern zone. There are some very, very dangerous commanders and generals in the southern zone. Up in the, is it Munyenge? I think so, Munyenge. You have this guy they call so-called General Opopo. He is a dangerous figure to even be alive. Only last week, a few fighters who left another community, another county, and went there, you are aware of them, who left another county and went there, returned with bad news, very, very bad news. Now, these are boys who have been sent there to go and accompany them, carry out some mission. But they've had to escape, and the news they escaped with wasn't good. They said they found that in this Opopo's camp, there is a prison of at least 100 people who are abducted, probably kept in there for ransoms to be paid. They also said that they found out you get into Opopo's camp, he cuts your fingers, he cut your legs. They also said right in front of them, people would come, Opopo would cut their legs and cut their fingers. In front of them, a young man, Opopo drove a nail through the head of a young man in front of them. And while they were there, for all the time they were there, Opopo asked them to be digging graves. They don't know whether those graves were meant for them. So the moment they found out Opopo wasn't about having them leave, they found out a way to escape, all of them, including some of Opopo's boys, from that place. How do you read? Why should this guy be fighting for, be recognized, be fighting for this revolution?
Secretary Chris, so far as I'm concerned, I do not recognize Opopo. I do not recognize Opopo as somebody who is fighting for this revolution. Opopo, maybe he fought for the revolution from the beginning, but right now, he is not fighting for the revolution, and he's only protecting what he has made and extorting a lot of money from cocoa farmers, from people around there, terrorizing other restoration forces and trying to maintain dominance in that area. And this is what some of these commanders who are no longer fighting for this revolution, they do. When they have all these weapons, they just go around and disarm other groups because they have these heavy weapons. It is happening everywhere, not only in the southwest. We have similar situation that is happening even in Momo. So these people who are because of their evil, they have become so afraid that any other person who has a weapon around them is going to get them. And so because of this fear, they are going around and disarming people. That's what Opopo is doing in Muyenge and in Fakobek. Opopo doesn't fight for this revolution. Anybody working with Opopo is doing that at their own risk. Opopo doesn't fight for this revolution. And I just pray that the population will arise against people like this and make sure we have intelligence about them, and so we can really arrest them and do what we have to do to stop them from terrorizing the people. Now, Secretary Chris, I just want to make something very clear. You said something that I think it should be made known to the Ambazonian people, that if these people are calling you, or they arrest you and they tell you, oh, we want you to pay 200,000 or 1 million, but do not tell anybody. Don't let anybody, don't give our number to anybody. Please do not listen to them. Immediately they give you a call. Call the interim government, call the restoration forces, call members of your local government and give them that number. Give them that number. Don't only give it to one person. Give it to multiple people. Tell them this person is calling and terrorizing me. If you know the name, any description or anything about anybody who is terrorizing you, trying to arrest you, please report it. Do not be afraid of all their threats. It is only when you report it that we can deal with this. I'm very, very so sorry for some people on ground zero, or some people even in diaspora, that when their families are arrested, they do not say anything. They just keep it quiet because they are told that if you say anything, we are going to kill your family. And after they have paid ransom, before they come crying to us. And some of them do not even cooperate with the restoration fighters who are trying to locate these thieves. They don't cooperate with them. You should give the number to the restoration fighters. cooperate with the restoration fighters so that they can track these people and arrest them. But only after they are gonna pay ransom, then they come and say that, oh, my person was arrested and this, that, and that. No. Immediately you get that news, please report this thing. Give every information you have about this person who is threatening you so that we can narrow down on them and we can get rid of them.
Opopo, the killer in Moyenge, Divine, they belong to Sokadev of Dr. Akwanga, Ebenezer Akwanga. However, I understand these guys ever since stopped taking instructions from Comrade Akwanga. What do you know about this?
You are right, but not quite. The Divine doesn't work for Akwanga.
Okay.
Divine is a member of the Sword of Ambazonia. Divine has a very terrible record of killing of other commanders and restoration fighters. But right now, I think Divine is rethinking that. Is not as he used to be. Divine is not as he used to be, to the best of my knowledge, because I've been following the case of Divine. But so far as Opopo is concerned, I know that Sokadev cannot take responsibility for the crimes of Opopo. I think Sokadev has lost control over Opopo, and Opopo is on his own right now. He's on his own. That's what I understand. But just to correct that, Divine is not working with Sokadev. Divine is with the Sword of Ambazonia. And he has committed a lot of crimes.
Is the Sword of Ambazonia owned by him or owned by some other leader?
No, the Sword of Ambazonia is owned not by him, by some other people.
Where
there are some
they?
people in the who claim they own it, and also is part of that area right there. So we're not going to detail of that, just to keep that. But Divine is the Sword of Ambazonia, and he has committed a lot of atrocities documented. Cut people's hand, killed people, extorted money from cocoa farmers, and many other things, and even built for himself large houses or tried to acquire a lot of properties for himself. He will one day pay for this crime. But right now, Divine is no longer doing some of those things that he used to do, to the best of my knowledge.
All right. Talking about that, some people are asking, is it possible for the Department of Defense to work with the restoration councils restoration forces in every community? On ground zero, the restoration forces that are recognized by the interim government, can the Department of Defense work with them to provide a number each, a contact number each in their community, so that when these things show up in their community, when people are kidnapped and reports come in from their community, the restoration forces can immediately be contacted? Can that be done?
Yes, Secretary Chris, eventually, and yes, that can be done. If you see some of the releases that I do on video or official release, there is a number underneath.
They are set, they claim they are based in Bafut and around Mancon, and they all claim to be part of the 7 kata. And so every time they go out, they kidnap, they go out, they steal, they take ransom, they rob people of their cars. They want the world to believe they are from the 7 katas. Of course, I'm sure you also listened to a certain audio that was put out there calling my name for claiming some certain events in Bafut or with the 7 katas and stuff, which was again another fabrication by those guys. But I have been digging to know, because a lot is happening in Bamenda, Mancon, in Quen, a lot of kidnappings, ransom takings, and I really set out to know the people behind this. Listen to the names. There is one called Ambe Banga. His military name is Commander Shoot. I actually have his phone number here. He said this guy is not only a kidnapper, but an experienced thief who has broken into homes of many people in Bafut and even those people's homes who are displaced. That is another. That is one. Another one, they call him General Tiger. Again, he said it is unfortunate that this Tiger guy is the Assistant General of 7 Kata. Now, I need to say this. I found out about this General Tiger, and somebody told me that Tiger doesn't get involved in kidnapping. But another source says Tiger is involved. So I will leave it for the 7 Katas to figure out, to investigate whether Tiger does this. But this is the information I have for him. It says it's unfortunate that this Tiger guy is the Assistant General of 7 Kata. He broke into the home of late Justice Infombin and made away with his chairs. As he is comfortably sitting on those chairs in his newly built house in wartime without any remorse. Again, as far as General Tiger is concerned, there still needs to be some additional confirmation, and I also have his number here. I don't want to put it out there yet. Another one is called Commander Wounded. He lives in Mambu Bafoot. Another one is Commander Davis, and he also lives in Mambu Bafoot. Another one, this one is a big one. I think he is the leader of this gang, and Atanga Masolus knows him very, very well. They call him Small Alaji, and you may know him, Mr. Secretary. You must have heard about him. He is called Small Alaji. I have his phone number here, and he lives also in the Mambu in Bafoot. He says there are 2 Alajis. There are 2 Alajis, but the kidnapper one here is the one in Mambu in Bafoot, the Small Alaji guy. He is very, very, very dangerous. And every time they carry out kidnappings and ransoms, they say 7 Kata did it. Whereas it is not 7 Kata. Another one is Commander Justice. Commander Justice, I have his phone number. He lives also in Mambu Bafoot. Mambu Bafoot is a dangerous area for these rogues. Mambu Bafoot, he says, note should be taken. There are 2 of them who bear this name. So this one is called Commander Justice, but this particular one lives in Mambu Bafoot. This is his location is meant to differentiate between the other one. Then you also have Commander Shoot. Commander Shoot. I also have his phone number, and his other name is Ambe Banga, and he lives in Central Bafoot. Central Bafoot. Then you also have Commander Black. Commander Black. He said it's unfortunate that this guy is something else at the moment. He took 4 of them. I mean, somebody took. No, I don't want to say that. He said this guy has camps in the villages of Mundum 1 and Mundum 2. I don't know where Mundum 1 and Mundum 2 are. Maybe they're inside Bafoot. I have no idea. But he has 2 camps. He has 2 camps there. These villages are located at the outskirts of Bafoot. This guy has made himself king in these villages, harassing civilians and giving them snake beatings. He owns more than 100 cows. He owns more than 100 cows forcefully taken from Mbororo men. Have you heard about this guy, Mr. Secretary?
This is the first time I'm hearing about that particular guy, sir. Okay.
But his own is a bad case. I actually have with me some of the cows that they have forcefully taken from people. I have some of the pictures and their locations where they are. One is parking in front of Bafoot Palace, and others are somewhere. I learned what they do. They sell these cars for parts because they know they cannot drive them around. They cannot drive them around. They sell the cars the cars for parts. But you have the people in Bafut should know Bafut is an infested areas with these rogue thieves and robbers and kidnappers and ransom takers. In a message for the place, let's work together to stamp out this phenomenon. It is very, very important. And also, we are asking everybody on ground zero, you should begin right now to think of means of defending yourself and defending your family against these rooks. And for the rooks, I like to repeat once more. Also, the danger in what they are doing, these rook guys are doing, they are also putting real, genuine, honest restoration fighters in danger. Because when the community becomes threatened, the people in the community are bound to begin to expose every restoration fighter they come across, thinking that everybody is involved in kidnapping and ransom taking. And so, just as you say, I think everything should be done to get rid of these guys. And I think the idea of getting their real names, getting their photographs, and putting it out there in the public domain for people to know exactly who they are is a great idea. It's yours. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not support the idea of private militias. And this is what is going on. People from Kondenge are giving out money to generals on ground zero to work for them and to pay allegiance to them. And once this money runs out of these commanders and generals, and they can no longer turn to the interim government to say, hey, we don't have sticks, we don't have peanuts, and so on and so forth, they resort to kidnapping and ransom taking to maintain their camps. You are very much aware of this. What can you say?
Yes, that is very true. I have a few commanders who have called me that Kondenge has sent the money, and Kondenge is encouraging them that they should pay allegiance to the Kondenge IG. I also want to use this opportunity to let Ambazonia that the ASC, as they used to know, does not work with this interim government. The few elements that are left with the ASC, they have no force, and maybe they have some few soldiers or commanders on the ground that have chosen to work with them, but you should not be afraid of them. Just know that the ASC is not part of the people's interim government. But
the ASC is indeed one of the groups that is coaching these boys on the ground to go about taking ransoms, kidnapping people so they can have a flow of income to go about their business.
Yes, you know that if somebody is trying to rebel against the IG and they don't have the funding to take care of these soldiers, they become complacent and they compromise with standards and what is right, and they just allow these boys to do anything they can do, so as long as these people can pay loyalty to them or can be loyal to them, they just allow them to do whatever they have to do. But you know that there are some people even in that Mezam who are planning a coup to break up from the interim government to overthrow the interim government by using some of these fake fighters. There are people who are sponsoring private militia, and because of their own agenda and their personal gain or for the interest of other people, they are trying to subdue or overtake forces of the interim government. We want to say that we are going to be calling all these people out. We are going to publish all enemies of Ambazonia, foreign or domestic. We will call you out. We will name you. We will put you on the pedestal. People will know who you are, and all your hidden secret will be exposed. All people who are planning evil against this revolution, they will be exposed, and we will deal with them accordingly. I repeat, you can only have one chain of command. You cannot be taking orders from 2 directions, from 3 directions, then you are going to confuse. You are going to be confused. You will not be effective. And so I just want to put this out there. Let these restoration fighters get this information, let them get this message. You can choose to belong where you want to belong, but if you have to be the restoration fighters under this interim government, you cannot belong to another command. That's just what I want to make clear, sir. Thank you.
All right. You who are stealing from people, abducting people, taking ransoms from people, building houses, building businesses, buying lands, I can assure you that every one of you, commander or general or fighter, who are out there abducting people, taking ransoms and building houses and buying lands and taking buying cars and so on and so forth, when this is over, you would have to account for every single thing that you got during this time of war, and we are appealing